President-elect Bola Tinubu has discussed strengthening U.S.-Nigeria relations in a phone conversation with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Blinken said he looks forward to strengthening the U.S.-Nigeria partnership built on shared interests and strong people-to-people ties after Tinubu is sworn in as president. The two leaders also discussed the importance of inclusive leadership representing all Nigerians, continued cooperation in security and reforms supporting economic growth. But PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has criticized Blinken, saying in a tweet that Blinken's phone call is a contradiction to the publicly stated position of the U.S. on the presidential election. This is inconceivable considering that America, as a bastion of democracy, is well briefed on the sham election of February 25. To give legitimacy to the widely acknowledged fraudulent election in Nigeria can be demoralizing to citizens who have hedged their bet on democracy and the sanctity of the ballot. NIRI's Director of News and Political Editor Sumner Sambo joins us now to look at that very historic phone conversation between Antony Blinken and Nigeria's president-elect. Good to see you, Sumner. And by the way, congratulations to the team here at Arise on the award. I really have to put that before we dig into politics.
That was a remarkable
congratulations to all of us at Arise News.
So now let's talk about this call. First, after that election, a lot of people were waiting to look at one of the biggest democracies in the world to say something about that election and the president-elect. And finally, Antony Blinken has finally called Bola Tinubu. What does this mean as we move closer to May 29?
It means a lot to the forthcoming Tinubu administration, because they've been looking for international support, some sort of legitimacy within the international community, and it's been foot dragging because of the challenges with the outcome of the elections and of course the ongoing presidential elections court, holding court on this same election. And as a result of that, you would have seen that unlike previous times when we would have had president-elects, and then you would have to see a lot of members of the diplomatic corps and then other foreign countries sending delegations to come have a session with the president-elect before they are sworn in. We haven't seen that traffic to Abuja so much like it used to be from Washington, from from London or Paris previously. And so it has to do with all of this. And so this coming at this point actually shows that the U.S. itself has been sort of subtly forced into coming out to do this because of the Russian challenge, of course the BRICS, and then of course China's approach to diplomacy with Africa. You will discover that these people have always been there at the fringe, and of course they are really courting Bola Tinubu because the Western powers are so much interested with the outcome of the elections, while these other people are not interested in the outcomes of elections. They don't want to tamper with the issues of sovereignty and all of that. And so the US over time played this sort of international diplomacy, and they found themselves on the wrong side of economic negotiations and then infrastructural development. And then of course, every economy has to work out ways of getting, partnerships with other countries. Nigeria is a country you can't neglect. And if Bola Tinubu is to be sworn in as the president of the largest black nation on earth, there's no reason why they shouldn't talk to that person. So it has sort of open talks.
Interesting, it's sort of open talks. But why would you think that, or why would you say that U.S. were forcefully or was forced to come out to broker that conversation with the president-elect? Bear in mind also that the U.S. has been a strong ally of Nigeria.
Not necessarily. If you look at the relations we've had with the two previous outgoing governments, we've had with Jonathan, the relations were strained, and then with Buhari, they tried to, but somehow the relations were not so smooth. And so in the midst of what looked like a vacuum between Nigeria's relations with the West, we saw China actually embracing us better, and the Chinese seem to have benefited more from the U.S. lackluster attitude towards Nigeria over the years. And then we've also seen Russia actually penetrating the continent. And so this sort of gives the U.S. goose pimples. Anthony Blinken himself had come to Nigeria to try to create a fresh rapport with the Buhari administration. But even then, it wasn't so much like that because, of course, of allegations of human rights violations here and there. But with this new chapter, with Bola Ahmed Tinubu coming on board, despite the issues that we have, the U.S. is only doing this, not because it would have naturally wanted to do this, but to await the outcome of the presidential election court. But because if it doesn't, then, of course, the Chinese, the Russians, and all of that will take advantage of it. And Tinubu had been cutting them in one way or the other, but you see that the ambassadors have been foot dragging. Even the UK High Commissioner, who just left the country not quite long, she had said something about the election, saying that, look, we could actually manage whatever challenges we had, and they're only for her to come back and say, look, the elections were not properly organized.
Sumner, before I let you off quickly here, this is coming on the back of the U.S. Saying it has issued some visa ban to election troublemakers.
Yes, I mean, it's a very good one. And that's why when you see people like Atiku Abubakar coming to say, look, US, you've always seen, you've always made us to look at you as a bastion of democracy and all of that. Why should you be congratulating someone who's already in court and there are legitimacy issues around there? You tie it with the same statement that was issued by US Department of State saying that, look, some people had been, deprived of their visa status and all of that. You discover that, like I said previously, the U.S. is in a very tight position. It wouldn't have loved to do this so much early, but you can't toy with Nigeria. And that's why Nigerians need to take a second look at their country. With the way the outside world sees us is different from the way we see ourselves. Irrespective of the challenges that we have, a president must be sworn in on May 29, and this foreign countries must have one relations or the other with the country. And so if they don't do that, there's no vacuum. Someone will have to come and fill in the space. And I can tell you that the Russians have been trying to give us a fresh approach. They are willing to provide lots of support. And then the Chinese have been there with the Buhari government. They are cutting Buhari. And then you would have seen that the French too. Why have we asked ourselves why Bola Tinubu is spending more time in France than in the US or in the UK? The French are also not sleeping. They want to take advantage of this because Nigeria is surrounded by more French-speaking countries, and they would want to take advantage. So I'm thinking that they have seen the hands of the French, the Chinese, and then, of course, the Russians. That's why they are forced to actually take this decision.
So you're suggesting that they're trying a carrot-and-stick approach on Nigeria?
Yes, of course, they have to. And then it's left for Tinubu to see if he will take advantage of this or not. But this is a very good gift to the Bola Tinubu administration because they've been cutting the Western powers for long, and it's been a little bit, taking its time before it comes. But it is finally here, and from none other than the U.S. So it's a big win for the incoming Bola Tinubu administration.
Thank you very much. Sumner Sambo, Director of News, Arise News.